When people set out to make positive or healthy changes in their lives, they typically focus specifically on what they don't want or what they want to stop. They don't want to be eating so much junk food. They want to stop procrastinating. They don't want to be staying up so late. They want to stop doom scrolling on their phone. They don't want to be so anxious. Have you done this? Have you set out to make a positive or healthy change in your life and focused specifically on what you don't want or what you want to stop? If you have, and if you have found that it's not working and you keep doing the thing that you don't want to be doing but can't figure out why you can't stop or why you can't do what you want to do or why it's not all coming together the way that you were hoping it would, you're feeling down, depleted, discouraged, maybe pretty hard on yourself, like, why can't I just do this? Or why can't I just stop doing this? What's wrong with me? I am here to tell you that is not because there is something wrong with you. It is because you are going about making the changes in the wrong way. And it's not your fault because you didn't learn how to do it any differently until today. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to make healthy, positive, helpful changes in your life, the one that you've been wanting to make, or maybe the ones you've been wanting to make. And it's going to make a whole lot more sense by the end of this talk, why it hasn't been working, and you're going to learn what to do instead. But first, if you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below. If you're back again, it's always good to have you. Special shout out to my shifters. So good to have you here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, you can do that below. If you get something out of the video, if you could like it, that would be amazing. Either way, my name is Julia Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of my membership community, the Shift Society, where heart-centered humans like you are taking this work to the next level, and they're being guided and supported and held accountable every single day. You can get more information about the Shift Society in the description below. And speaking of, I help heart-centered humans break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And you want to make some changes. Maybe you need to make some changes, which is why you're here right now. And you've been trying. It's not for lack of effort. You have been putting the work in, but nothing really seems to be working, and you're not making the changes that you really want to be making and can't figure out why. Good news. I'm going to teach you why these changes haven't been happening. And it's because, like I mentioned at the beginning of the talk today, what you are focusing on. You are focusing on what you don't want or what you want to stop. So you have these urges, you have these desires, you have these habits, you have these instincts, you have these patterns, and you're focusing so hard on wanting to stop them or not do them. So you have this energy that's coming out from you that's like, I want to procrastinate, or I want to scroll on social media, or I want to eat junk food. And you're trying to tell yourself, don't stop, don't stop. And then that energy is kind of coming out and then being halted, and it doesn't really have anywhere to go. And so it kind of goes back inside of you, and you feel this like tension. This is what I want, but I need to not want it. I need to not do it. I need to stop myself from doing it. I need to prevent it. I need to not eat the junk food. I need to not call my ex. And you've got all of this energy going on inside, and you're focusing on what you don't want. So where is your brain going? Your brain is going into this kind of truncated, sort of cut off, stop, don't mode. And then you kind of feel like you can do it for a little bit. Maybe you're like, okay, I can white knuckle this. I can force myself to not do it. I can will myself to stop. But because all of that energy is getting stuck inside without anywhere to go, eventually you get exhausted from trying to stop yourself or not do something. And then what happens is that you break and you do the thing. You eat the food, you call the ex, you do the doom scrolling, you do the procrastinating, and then you feel like you've failed. But it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because that is the completely wrong way to go about making healthy, positive, helpful changes in your life. And Interestingly enough, the same concept even applies to dealing with your biggest struggles with anxiety. Think about it. How often do you tell yourself, I'm going to stop feeling anxious, just don't feel anxious, just get over your anxiety? And you're trying to halt that anxious energy. You're trying to stop yourself from feeling anxious, which then what does it do? Makes you only focus on the anxiety. And then the more you focus on the anxiety, the bigger the anxiety gets. And the more you try to tell yourself to stop feeling anxious or to try to force yourself to not feel anxious, the more frustrated you feel because you can't. And the more anxious you get about feeling anxious, which then makes this big anxious mess. Have you ever tried that? Have you ever tried to not feel anxious all day, to kind of like suck it up, suck it in, let it go, force it away, and you feel like the more you try to stop it, the more tense you get inside, and the more that anxiety may not be coming out on the inside, but you're definitely feeling this like tension, this stress, this sort of filling up of all of this overwhelming emotion and energy on the inside. And then you do that long enough, all of that emotion is going to get built up inside, and you're either going to explode or implode, maybe even have a panic attack or a mental breakdown. Because that's just what happens when we focus so much on trying to stop or prevent or not do something. So what do you do instead? It's actually a lot easier than you might think. Instead of halting all of that energy inside by what you don't want or what you want to stop, redirect that same energy into what you do want. Instead of halting it or truncating it or preventing it, redirecting it towards something else. Instead of keeping it in, move it out, but in a different direction. And that way you're not going to be having all that build up inside that's going to ultimately exhaust you, wear you out, and cause you to probably engage in the thing that you're trying so hard not to do because you're so exhausted from trying not to do it. Instead, focus on what you do want. Instead of saying to yourself, I don't want to eat junk food, saying, I do want to eat more nutrient-dense foods, maybe some lean protein, some fruits and vegetables, some healthy whole grains, some complex carbohydrates. Instead of telling yourself, I don't want to procrastinate, or I need to stop procrastinating, telling yourself, I'm going to start with doing one thing, with taking on one step towards this thing so I don't get myself totally overwhelmed with trying to do it all immediately and trying to do it perfectly, which is often what causes procrastination in the first place, is that perfectionist brain. Instead, I'm going to let myself do one piece, take one step. Instead of telling yourself, well, I don't want to stay up late and I'm not going to stay up late. Instead, telling yourself, I'm going to look at my schedule. I am going to look at what I have to do in the day and what I like doing to wind down. And then I'm going to figure out a realistic time for me to get to bed that's a little earlier than I have been doing. And I'm going to be intentional about that. Instead of saying, I don't want to be doom scrolling on my phone, say to yourself, I do want to put my phone down and go for a walk, read a book, have a dance party in my kitchen, find some other way to get that dopamine hit that's going to be good for me. Instead of saying, I don't want to be so anxious, telling yourself, I do want to focus on breathing, on grounding, on challenging those distorted negative thoughts that are bringing up my anxiety in the first place. And I want to be focusing on my healthy, helpful self-talk instead. Focus on what you do want, and knowing that where your thoughts go, your energy flows. Notice what it feels like when you think about the thing that you've been wanting to stop doing or not do, and think about what happens and notice what happens when you change that into something that you do want. Take a minute right now. Think about that thing. Put it in the comment section below. What's the thing that you're like, I've been trying to stop this, I've been trying not to do this, and write it down in that I want to stop or I don't want to. Write it down like that in the comment section below. And then immediately after, change each one of them that you put down there, even if it's just one, just change the one into something that you do want. Where do you want that focus and that energy and that intention to go? Focusing on what you do want is going to take that habit or that instinct or that pattern or that drive towards that thing that you want to be changing, and it's going to not truncate or halt or repress that energy. It's going to redirect it and keep yourself moving, but in a different direction. Notice what that feels like. Notice what happens when you do that. And I have a tool, I have a workbook that's going to help you do this, and it's completely free. It's called the Intentional Self Journal, and it teaches you how to do exactly that, how to live intentionally by looking at what do I want? What am I creating? How do I want to grow? What do I want my future to be? And what do I need to do to create that? Not what do I need to stop, what do I need to do? So that workbook is completely free in the description below, Intentional Self Journal. Write down your thing that you want to stop, that you don't want to do, and then flip it into something that you want to start, something that you do want to do. And let's work with each other in the comments section and support each other and encourage each other. And just to get that out there for your own accountability, to have it down, pen to paper, or I guess finger to keypad, but getting it out there, seeing it in real life, it's going to make a difference. Grab that Intentional Self Journal, do that in the comments. And as always, be good to yourself, be good to those around you, and take good care.